In this section we start easy. We start with the basics. First of all, we need to install n8n. We do it locally via Node.js. You can also use Docker if you want. I also want to show you how you can update your n8n instance locally and how you can start in the cloud. And of course you can start in the cloud also for free. But more on hosting later. You can also do self-hosting, but we need to do this step by step. As soon as everything is installed and ready, we start with our first automation. We make a really simple automation. Nothing with AI. It's a hard-coded automation. We can make our own form submission, and every submission that comes through will be automatically saved in Airtable. Then I also want to show you how you can export and import files. You can simply copy my workflow, simply import it in your instance and they are ready to rock, but generally speaking, it's better to build this out yourself because the goal is of course to learn. I also want to show you where you find other workflows and where you can sell your own workflows as soon as you are a pro. In the automation after this, I want to show you how we can use a time trigger. This time trigger will basically look every single minute in Airtable, pass the data from Airtable to a node that converts our files into a text file, and this text file will get saved locally on our machine. I just want to show you how you can pass data around. You can convert data into HTML, into CSVs, into text, into whatever, and you can also save stuff locally. This is not a practical automation. This is just so that you learn how to pass data and how to use the time triggers, because this time trigger will get executed every single minute all day long as this is active. Then we talk about the Google Cloud Console, because you need to understand the Google Cloud Console, especially if you work locally. We will connect Google Sheets with n8n. If you work over the cloud, it's a lot easier. And we will basically create this workflow in order to create new Google Sheets in your Google account. So basically the things that we do right here are relatively easy. We just need to make some API keys, and that's basically it. See you in the next video as soon as we start to install n8n in Node.js. In this video I want to show you how we can install n8n locally on our own machine. This is really practical because we can use it for free. The first thing that you can do is to go over to GitHub. And here on GitHub you see this is the n8n GitHub repo. It has already a lot of stars, so this is something that is really used right now. And if you scroll down, you see relatively quick that you can install it either with npx. So for this you need Node.js, or you can also use Docker. I want to show you how we can install it with Node, but if you really love Docker and you know how to do it, you can also use Docker. The first thing that you should do is to simply Google Node, and then you press on the first link. This is Node.js. And then you press right here, download Node.js. This thing will get downloaded. It will look something like this. You open it in your downloads and you press on it. And then you follow this simple installation. And then this thing is installed on your local machine. I have already installed this tool, so I will not do this. And I also want to show you something else. If you want to manage your Node instance later, you can also install NVM for Windows. Now this is not necessary, but you can install this. You simply Google NVM for Windows, you press on this first link, then you scroll down, you go on download now, you scroll down right here, and you need to download the NVM setup zip. As soon as this is downloaded, you can simply throw it on your desktop, you can unzip it and install it. Like I said, this is not necessary, but this can help you with Node.js if you want to use, for example, an older version or a newer version. You see right here, if you go on Node.js, that there are a lot of versions. Sometimes it can happen that the newest version has a bug. But normally this doesn't happen. But if for some reason n8n will not work in your local Node instance, it can be cool, for example, to downgrade it to a lower version. And if you have installed NVM for Windows, so the thing from the zip file, you can totally do this really easy. Now as soon as these two things are installed, or at least as soon as Node is installed, you will have this on your search bar. You can press on it. You can search for the Node.js command prompt, and with this thing you can install n8n. Here you simply have to type in npm install n8n-g, and then you send this thing out. This will be done in 2 minutes or so. And you do this only once. And as soon as your packages are installed, it will look something like this. You can either clear your window or you can reopen it. And then you simply type in n8n. And send this out. And then your local Node installation will open up. After 1 or 2 minutes, it should look something like this. You will get to this URL, and you can simply copy this URL, throw it in your browser and send it out. Then you will see something like this. Just simply type in your mail, your first name, your last name, and of course a password. Then you fill out this information. After this is done, you will be in an instance that looks something like this, but you will not have any workflows. So you see, I have already some workflows here installed, but your canvas will most likely be completely empty. It will look something like this. I want to give you a quick overview. So the first thing is workflows. Most likely your things are here empty. You can search through workflows as soon as you have created a lot of them. You can filter through these workflows and you can sort by last updated or whatever you like by name or what you want. Then you can press on credentials. You can also include some credentials. You see, I have already included a lot of different credentials here, but most likely you will not have included them, because we will do this step by step later. Then you can also press on executions, and here you see what executions were triggered in the last few sessions, for example. If you go back on workflows, you see that you can also create new workflows by pressing on this button, and if you press here, you can also create credentials. If you press create workflow, you will be in a Canva that looks something like this, but don't worry, first we go back right here and we see what's here on the left side. On the left side you have here this plus sign, and here you have once again workflow, credentials, and you can also go on the enterprise plan. The enterprise plan has some special offers that you do not need right now. Then you have here templates, and if you press on templates, you are in a marketplace, and here you can search for templates. There are free templates, there are also paid templates. You can search for templates later as soon as you understand the basics. If you press on finance, for example, you will find some examples for finance templates that you can use. You can either buy them. Here you see something for 25 bucks. Here is something for $49, or you can also search for stuff that is completely for free. But like I said, first you need to understand these workflows before you use them. So if you go down, here you find variables, and if you press on them, you can also create variables for later workflows, but of course step by step. Then you have your help guide. If you press on these, you have a quick starter with some videos. You have the whole documentation. The documentation is really great. You should take a look of these, and we will also use it over and over in this course. You have a forum. You also have a small course. You can report a bug, and you can also press on about n8n. Here you get some information. And down here is your name. And if you press on this, you can simply go to settings or sign out. If you go to settings, you simply see how many workflows you can make. For example, in this local instance, I can make unlimited workflows. If you press on personal, you can simply type in your information. If you go on user, you see from who this is owned. In my case, this is from my normal email address. You can also press on the n8n API, and you can programmatically use n8n if you simply create an API key, so you can include this in other workflows. And then you have some stuff that is only available in the enterprise plan. You have external servers, more on that later, environments that you can create, SSO, LDAP, and of course also log streaming. And lastly, you have the community nodes. In the left corner you also see what version is active. In the next video I want to show you how we can update these versions, because right now there's an update available. If you go back on settings once again, and if you press on overview and create workflow, we are once again in this canvas, and here the magic happens. Here in this canvas we can create our workflows. You have always to start with a trigger node, so you simply press plus and you can use these nodes. But of course, more on these nodes later, because we will need to do this step by step. And in the next video I want to show you how we can update our local instance, and I also want to show you how you can use, first of all, the plan from n8n completely for free if you have trouble installing this locally. So see you in the next one. If you have problems with the installation of n8n, it's most likely to the right node version. Or if you are not admin, you need to make two things sure. First, you need to be admin on your local machine, and second, you need to have the right version of Node. Generally speaking, the newest version of Node should work, normally. So version 23.8.0 should work. But also other versions work. It depends a little bit. Sometimes also the newest version can bug a little bit. I want to show you what version I am using and how you can install these versions. Now first, please install NVM for Windows just like I have shown you in the previous video. So simply go on this download and use the NVM setup zip. Then we open up the Node.js command prompt and here you can type in NVM list and you will see what versions are installed on your local machine. I have installed 23.8.0, 20.16.0 and also an older version 18.20.5. And if you want to install a version, I would really recommend you to install this version. And everything that you have to do is to type in these lines. NVM install and then you type in the number. So basically 20.16.0. I want to install an older version. So I want to install, for example, 22.14.0. And then we send this out. This will be relatively fast, and as soon as this is installed, it will look something like this. And then you see also this. With NVM use, you can use this version. So NVM use, let's just say 22.14.0 and we send this out. And now I am using this version. And in order to control this, I can type in NVM list once again, and this thing with the star is working currently. So please install 20.16.0. This works for me right now. It is totally possible that you need to play with these versions a little bit. Maybe the newest version will work for you, and if it does not want to work, just use this version. So I want to use right now, once again, this right here, NVM use 20.16.0, we send it out. One last test, NVM list. And you see I am using this version right now, and this version makes no problems for me, and I am relatively sure this will also work for you. In this video I want to show you how you can update your local instance of n8n, because this is crucial. n8n makes updates all the time. You already saw it. If we go back on overview, leave without saving, like, come on, this is dangerous if you have something big, but for the sake of this, it's completely fine. If you press on your name and settings, you see that this thing down here is red. This means that we can and eventually should make some updates. So the first thing that we do right now is we open up Node.js. So the command prompt basically, and we close it. And as soon as this is closed down, if you reload your page down here, it will no longer work, because like this works over Node. And if you go once again on the GitHub page, you see that they make updates all the time. For example, here's a small update 28 minutes ago, 2 weeks ago, last week, 2 days ago. So you see this is really active and we need to keep this up to date. You don't have to update it all the time, but it's really practical to update it from time to time because they ship really cool thing all the time. The first thing that you do is to open up Node.js command prompt once again, and here you can make your updates. Everything that you have to do is to type in npm update-g n8n, and you can send this out. Then it will take a little bit, I think like 2 or 3 minutes, it depends a little bit on the updates, but then everything will be completely up to date and you can restart your local instance. And here we are, you see, added 5 packages, removed 30 packages and changed 1552 packages in 2 minutes. So this was relatively fast. As soon as this is done, you can simply type in once again n8n and we send this out, and then we will get back our local host. So this thing right here, we can reload it as soon as this thing is done, and then we will be completely up to date. And it will take a minute once again. It's done, and now you can either simply copy and paste once again this URL, or you can simply reload this thing right here, and here we are once again, and now every single thing should be completely up to date. So this was really easy. This is how you can update your local Node instance. And it was really easy. Now you are up to date once again with n8n. And in the next video I want to show you how you can use the cloud instance from n8n. This is especially cool if you want to host your applications, and you can also start completely for free if you do this. You can start for free 2 weeks, and then you don't get automatically billed. This is really practical if you simply want to follow with this course over a lot of lectures. So see you in the next one. And you can also work locally for a lot of things. But locally does not work later in some lecture if we want to trigger, for example, WhatsApp or Telegram, or if we want to host our applications and sell them to other people. But for testing, local is completely perfect. If you do not want to install this thing on your local machine, if you don't like to use Node.js or something like this, you can simply type in n8n in your browser, you can simply Google it, and you can press on one of the links. The URL that you use is n8n.io, you can also type it in your browser, and then you press get started for free. And that's basically it. So I have already an account made. You have to make an account with your email address and so on, and then you can simply open up this thing. And then you are here. I have already some workflows because I use this tool a lot. I also have here the paid plan, but this will be completely for free. You do not even have to give your credit card, and you can use it 2 weeks completely for free. So you can also do this without the installation if you do not want to do this. And to be honest, it's also a lot nicer, a lot easier, and a lot faster if you want to work with this. You have some advantages if you use this, and more on these advantages later. But if you want to install it locally, this would be perfect because this works only for 2 weeks for free. Later you have to pay for this feature. So choose wisely. You can use the local installation until we need this plan. We will need it later as soon as we trigger Telegram, WhatsApp and so on. And then you can use, for example, the free version in order to follow these tutorials, and later you can decide for yourself if you want to use this thing, or if you want to work only locally, or if you want to self-host it, for example, on Render. See you in the next video as soon as we start to create our first workflow. In this video we will create our own first workflow. This will be really easy, and this will not be an AI automation. We will not use AI, this is a simply hard-coded automation if you want to call it that way. Now we are of course once again in n8n, and I work on my local host here. So you do not have to use the paid plan. We simply press create workflow. And the first thing that we can do is to press on your workflow and we give it a name. I simply use Airtable as the name right here. And the next thing that we do is to press save, because I like to save my workflows all the time. One of the first things that I always love to do is to press on these 3 dots. You can duplicate it, you can download it later, you can import it from a different URL, you can also import files. I want to show you these in the next videos, but the most important thing right now is to press settings. And here on settings you can type in a lot of different stuff. Execution order, we can leave this. Error workflow, more on that later, this will be important in later videos. Then this right here, this is the most important thing, at least right now, the time zone. You need to use the time zone in where you live. You simply press on it, and for me it's for example Berlin. So Europe, Berlin, this is by the way I think also where this thing was created. You have to use this so that the tool knows what time zone you are living in. Because if we want to make some automations later where we use for example real-time data, this will be crucial. And then we simply press save. This is a really important step and you should not leave this out. Now we are in this canvas. If you press Ctrl, you can simply move this canvas around. And you also see down here where you are in your canvas. Right now we have only one node and you see where this node is. You can also go down and up if you simply scroll with the mouse. If you press Ctrl and if you scroll with your mouse, you can simply scroll in and out in your workflows. You can do the same thing down here. You can also center it, zoom in, zoom out, and you can also go back by pressing on this button. We are right now in the editor. We also have executions, and here you can see what executions were executed. Right now nothing was executed. This is of course to be expected because we haven't done anything. The first thing that you always need is a node, and we always need to start with a trigger node. If you press on this plus, we have a lot of different triggers. If you use, for example, the manual trigger node, you can press on it, and if you press then test workflow, you can see if this is working or not. If you press test workflow, this node is right now executed, but of course nothing happened, but our click was executed. And even if you press on executions right now, you see that this node was executed successfully. If we go back, of course we can also delete this. But if you want to start with your first automation, you can trigger it manually. You can also use on-event triggers. If you press on these, you can use a lot of different things. You can include Airtable, you can include AWS, Box, Bubble, ClickUp, CoinGecko for the crypto nerds, DeepL if you want to do it with translations, DHL, Drift, Dropbox. You can use email triggers, Facebook leads ad trigger, a normal Facebook trigger, Form.io, GitHub, Google Ads, Google Analytics, Google Calendar, Google Cloud Storage, Google Docs, Google Drive, Google Sheets, Hacker News, HubSpot, and basically a lot of different triggers. You can use a lot of different trigger nodes. Even Notion, a lot is included here. If you press plus once again, you see that you also have a on schedule trigger. And if you press on these, you can use, for example, different timelines when this should be executed. You can execute it every single day, once a day at midnight. Or you can also execute it every single minute, for example, or every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes. So this workflow will get triggered automatically every 10 minutes. And of course we can delete it, press plus once again. We can use on webhook call. So if you want to call it via different webhooks, you can use this. When executed by another workflow, we will do a lot of these things later because we can also make sub workflows and we can call this with n8n. You can use on chat message, so if you simply want to chat here and execute your workflow, you can also do this. It's really easy to use. You have also other ways if you want, so you can use the error trigger, local files and so on. But what we want to do right now is to use the on form submission. And if you press on this, it gets executed, and right now we will use this. So basically what we want to do right now is we want to make an on form submission. And if we type stuff in, we want to save it automatically in Airtable. So this is our first node and we want to start with these. If you press on these nodes, you have a lot of data and we should fill this out correctly. Our example will look something like this. People want to book a hotel room, for example, on a on-form submission. And here we can use this test URL and also later the production URL. The authentication we don't use any, but you can use one if you want. Then the form title. So what should it be? Let's just call it room. And the description. What room do you like, for example? And then we need to give the field names. Your name, it should be text, and the placeholder, type your name, for example. And this should be a required field. And we also want to have some more elements. So add form element, they should not only type in their name, they should also fill out what they like. And we can simply copy this thing right here because this is basically the same thing that we want to include. So what room do you like? Right now we do not want to use text because we want to have a drop-down list, for example. And here we want to give some option. Let's just say standard room, add field, or let's just call it single room, deluxe room, and one last option, suite. And if we scroll down, this should be of course multiple choice. And it also is a required field. And this is basically our on-form submission. And if we press test step here on the left side, this thing will open up and we can simply test it out. So what room do you like? I need to type in my name, for example Arnie. And let's just say I want to have a single room and I can press submit and boom, there we have it, completely perfect. It was executed. If we close this down, you see that we get our data on the right side. Your name is Arnie. What room do you like? A single room. And here is also the date and time. And this is correct because we used our own time zone. So you see, this time right here is the same as mine in the right corner. If we press on JSON, we have also the JSON data. And if we press on schema, we have also the schema. We will need these things later, of course. If we press this down, this is right now completely perfectly executed. And if we press on executions, you can also see that this thing went through right now. Everything is green, everything is fine. And such a on-form submission is of course only practical if other people can use it. And other people cannot use it by pressing on test workflow. Other people need to use this different. So other people cannot simply go into your local instance and simply press here on test workflow. Other people need a production URL. And in order to get this, we need to send this to active. So not inactive, we want to have this active. As soon as this is activated, we can press on this once again. We can open this up and we can press on the production URL. And this production URL, if we simply copy this production URL and if we throw it in a web browser and if we send it out, this thing will get opened up and we can also type in our stuff right now. So let's just say once again, Peter, and Peter has money, he wants to have a suite, and let's just press submit. Your response has been recorded. If we go back into n8n once again, and if we go on executions, you see that this thing got through right here. If we press on it, you can see that Peter has used a suite, and this was made from the production URL. So everything works right now. So as soon as this is active, your production URL will work. This thing will work. But of course only on your local instance, because you need to host this if you want that other people can use this URL. More on this later. Right now this is only for testing. So you can also send this to inactive once again, and then we can go on with our automation, because we want to store this data that comes here through, and we want to store it, for example, in Airtable. And in order to do that, we have to press plus, and we use something new right here. Let's just say we want to use Airtable because we want to create an Airtable with all this data. In Airtable we use create a record. And here you see on the left side the data that comes through. And in the middle, you see that you can simply choose the data from the left side. This will be really easy to use. In order to use this data, you have to press on schema, and this schema you can include it here. But the first thing that you need is credentials to connect with Airtable, of course. I have already some credentials, but we will make new ones. And if you ever have any problems, you can press on this documentation, and this documentation is really perfect. You see the Airtable node, and they give you a lot of stuff that you can do. So you have some operations that you can do. You can append the data to a table, you can delete data, you can list the data from a table, and so on. And if you go back, you can simply see here on operation that you have all of these things, but we want of course create. So let's just make an Airtable account or an Airtable token. If you press on this, you need to press create new credentials if you don't have any. And then we need to give an access token. And now I want to show you how we can get this access token. You simply Google Airtable and you press on it. You can make an account in Airtable for free, and then you press on all workspaces. You want to create a new workspace. Here we press create, and we want to have a new one. And here you can give a name. For example, test Airtable. And here we have only two things that we want to include. We want to have a name, and we don't want to have nodes. Here we have room, because we want to book different rooms. This will be a really easy example, and we save it. And the other things we can basically simply delete them. So delete, and we can also delete these fields here. So right now we are completely empty. We only have name and room. And what we need right now is of course an API key. So we press on our name in the right corner. We go into the Builder Hub. We need our personal tokens. Excuse me that this is in German, but in English it will also look the same way. Then we simply press create new token. We give it a name, for example, n8n2, because I already have something here. And what we want to do with this token, we simply press on this right here. We want to have it access to read documents, and we also want to have write. And lastly, we also want to have the schema. So basically this down here. And what's the access? We simply press plus here. We can simply scroll down, and it was test Airtable, I think. And now we simply press create token. And this right here is our token. We can simply copy this token, and we go back into n8n. And here in n8n you see also why I have used the schema. We need the record read, the record write, and the base schema read. And here is the access token. We can simply include this token, and then we press save, and then this thing will be green, and as soon as something is green, it's always perfect. We can close this down. Right now we are connected with our Airtable database, and now we can simply map this data in the right fields. Resources record is right. Operation create, because we want to create new rows. Then we have the base from list. Of course, because we can simply choose our list. We can press on this, and then you find this test Airtable, the same thing that we have created in Airtable. So we can simply press on test Airtable. And then we have also the table from list, and we can also choose this right here. We only have one table right here. And then down here we have the values to send. We have only name and room. So this is automatically because we have this test Airtable with table 1 with name and room. If we go back into Airtable, back from the Builder Hub, on test Airtable, you see we have test Airtable, table 1, name and room. All of this is included automatically. And now we need to give the right schema. So values to send, what we want to send in name. We want to have an expression, and the expression will be here from the schema. This is basically your name, so we simply throw your name down here. And the room is also an expression. I think you can also leave it at fixed, but I like to use expression. And what we want to have, a single room. So what room do you like? We simply throw this down here. And then this will be updated completely automatically. We can also press test step in order to see if our data comes through. The name should be ASDS. This was just a stupid test that I did previously, and he should use a single room. If we simply press test step, let's just see if the data comes through. The data comes through, so the name is ASDS with a single room. And if we go in Airtable right now, you see ASDS single room. We can also make a test right now, a complete test of this workflow. We simply press test workflow. We want to have, for example, John, and John wants to have the deluxe room. Submit. Workflow executed successfully, so we can close this down. You can press on these, you see John, deluxe room, this was a test. You can press on Airtable, John, deluxe room, this was a test. And it gets automatically in name and value from our Airtable database. You can see it also here. And if you go in Airtable, you see that John has used the deluxe room. And the same thing is also true for the production URL. You can simply press from inactive on active. You can press on the on form submission. You can use the production URL. You simply copy this production URL. Let's just say you throw this online on your web page, or you send these links to other people. Other people will simply have this thing, and they can simply tell you that their name is Maria, and Maria wants to have a suite. Maria presses submit. Your response has been recorded. And if you go into Airtable, Maria has a suite. This is really that easy. This is our first automation. So just a few simple clicks and you can have an on-form submission that simply throws your data into Airtable. And every time as you want to test this, you can simply throw it from active to inactive. You can simply test your workflow. You give a name, let's just say test, single room, submit. Workflow was executed successfully, test, single room, done. If you want that other people can use it, like just on your local machine, if you host it, other people can use it always from inactive to active, on-form submission, production URL. You send this URL, just if it's hosted, other people can use it. This is just for the sake of this tutorial, just to test it. You can go on this right here, and you can use, for example, the name A, single room, submit. Second test, B, submit. V, not B, excuse me. C, single room, submit. P, suite, submit. Airtable has all this data. Now comes something essential. If you go back into n8n, you have to press save. Congratulations, you have your first really simple automation. This is a hard-coded automation. Some variables simply get sent from an on-form submission into your Airtable database. This is really easy, and in the next video I want to show you how you can share these workflows, how you can import my workflow, how you can simply copy the stuff that I have done so that you don't have to type it out. Later, if you want to make bigger automations, this will be a really powerful. Generally speaking, I would say you should make this yourself so that you understand the tool a little bit better. See you in the next one. In this video I want to show you how you can import and export workflows, and you can eventually also sell them. But most likely for this course you can simply import my workflows and you can use them immediately. The first thing that you can do is, of course, you go on to your workflow. We have created this workflow in the last video, and if you press on these three dots, you see you can duplicate this workflow, you can download it, import from URL, import from file, settings and delete. What I want to do right now is to simply press on download, and you see it here. This is right now a JSON format, so airtable.json. And if I go into my downloads right now, we can see it here. I simply throw it on my desktop. Let's just see, I throw it up here. Now it's on my desktop, and if I come back to n8n, If I press on overview and if I press create new workflow, I can of course create a new workflow, and you can right now download my workflow. I will always link my workflows, and then you can import them by simply pressing on these three dots, import from file. And for me, it's of course this Airtable.json. I press on it and I open it up. Right now it's imported, and you see also if I press on these that everything is filled out just like I have filled this out. So you do not have to type in all of this stuff, you do not have to worry about these variables, you can simply import the stuff. And I also want to show you this right here once again. If you go on templates, you see that other people give their templates either away for free, or like you saw previously, you can go on finance and you see that other people sell them $49, $25. Let's just press on engineering. Also here you find some workflows, some are for free, others are as cheap as $1, and you can set your own price. So if you are really great with these workflows, if you can create really good workflows, you can also sell them. But most likely to start out, you can simply import my workflows and you can play with them a little bit around. But like I said, I would really appreciate it if you make these workflows for yourself, because the goal of this course is of course to learn. In this video we want to make a test workflow. This test workflow simply wants to save files locally from your Airtable instance. This will not be the most practical workflow, but I just want to show you the time trigger node and also how you can pass different data. If we simply go back into n8n, press create workflow, then we start of course always with a node. I want to have this time of course the onScheduled trigger, and I want to use here minutes. Let's just say every single minute, this trigger should check if something is happening or not. We can simply leave it as it is. We connect this thing of course with Airtable, we press on these, and I want to use of course search records because we need to search this data. And here you see Airtable personal account 2, this is the thing from previous, record is right. We want to have here search, then we want to choose from list, once again test Airtable of course, and what list it is, of course it's the table 1, and right now we do not want to filter. So these are basically our two steps, and right now I just want to click test workflow and then see what I get and if I get something. I get 8 items, I can also see it right here. If we press on these, you see we have here also 8 items. If we go back into n8n, you see that we have simply these items that I have included previously. Now, if we do not press this from inactive to active, nothing will happen. It always gets triggered as soon as I press test workflow. But this time trigger will get triggered automatically every single minute as soon as I press from inactive to active. So as soon as this is active, I can go on executions, and then we can see that every single minute a new execution will get through this thing. So this will be completely automatic. I want to go back in editor once again. So as soon as something new comes here through, let's just say me and a suite, this is updated right now, my workflow will be active and it will get triggered automatically. We will not see it right here, but we will see it in executions. If I press on these, and if I press on Airtable, yeah, this is the old data. Let's just hope that, yep, something new come around the corner. Let's just press on these. This should have the update right now. If I press on these, you can see that we also have me right now included with the suite. So basically this gets triggered automatically every single minute as soon as this is active. So let's just make this inactive once again, because right now we want to pass this data around. And because I want to save this as a text file, we need to make this in a different format. So we press plus. I want to use binary right now, convert to file. Let's just say convert to text file, but you can convert in whatever you want. I just want to work with text file right now. And now we can pass this data through. Right now I have no data and we need to fix this. Let's just throw this connection away. We press test workflow, gets executed. Now we throw it on this. We press on this. Now we have data. So let's just say we just want to have the name, and the name is here Maria. Or no, we just want to have what they are booking, just the room. So we simply throw the room here in. Now we press test step. And now we see what rooms get booked. Here we have our 9 items. So we have 9 items, and if we press view, you can see that this is a suite. Back to list, view, single room, back to list, view, single room once again, and this right here, once again, single room, suite, and so on. So we have a lot of text files that are binary, and with these binary files we can start to work again. So we press plus, and we want to write this to our disk, for example. So let's just say read or write file from disk. We want to write file to disk and not read file to disk. The operation is write file. The file path, of course, let's just make a path here. I am on my local desktop. Let's just make a new text file. I call it test. I simply copy the path. So copy path. We come back in n8n. We simply include this path. We can also delete this thing right here. The input binary field is data, of course. And now we can simply press test step. And now you see that we passed this data. So we passed 9 items right here. And if we go back on our local desktop, and if we open up test, you see that we have this deluxe room included. And this is of course from this data points here. So basically this workflow would save every single minute this room on my local file. Let's just test this out. I open this test once again and I clear it. Right now it's empty. If I go on this workflow right now and we open this thing up here, let's just move it from inactive to active. And then I open up this text file and I simply just want to wait until my data comes through. And there we have it, the deluxe room once again, and I haven't done anything. If we go on executions, you see that every single minute this thing gets executed. So this thing was executed right now at this minute, and it passes simply this data, and this data gets saved locally on my machine. Of course, this workflow is stupid. Like, don't use this workflow. This is just in order for the sake of this tutorial that you see that you can use a scheduled trigger with different times. You can connect the Airtable. You can convert files into different files and you can use it on your own local machine, but only if you work locally, and then you can only save it on your own local machine. This is simply for the sake of this tutorial. This will be most likely not the automation that you want to build. This is just for clearer understanding how you can pass data around. In the next video we want to see something that is really practical. We want to include Google Sheets in our automations. In this video I want to show you how we can connect Google Sheets with n8n. We want to do it with as few clicks as possible. This Google Cloud Console is a little bit tricky for some people. Now first, if you want to work locally, you have to do every single click that I do right now. If you work on the other hand with the n8n plan, you can do it really easy and you can skip most of the things that we do in this video. So we do it locally, that you can do it click by click. I want to create a new workflow. I start with a manual trigger. We do it as easy as possible. We simply want to create new Google Sheets from n8n. We simply press plus, then we search for, of course, Google Sheets. So Google Sheets, and we want to do, let's just say, create a spreadsheet. Everything that we need to do right now is to make new Google credentials. If you do not have any credentials, please press create new credentials. And now we have something interesting here. We need to have the client ID, the client secret, and we need to give an OAuth redirect URL. And you can simply open the documentation to see how you can do this. If you scroll down, you see that you can create a Google Cloud account. You simply press on these, and here you need to make an account. Then you press, of course, on console. You have to go on your projects. We create a new project. I just call it, this is test, come on, and we create it. It's German, but in English, these buttons will be completely the same buttons. They will be completely in their same place. We can simply use our project. Now we go on the left side, we press on APIs and services. We go on the library, and here on the library, we search for the Google Sheets API. We press on the Google Sheets API, and we enable the Google Sheets API. As soon as this is enabled, we go on the OAuth consent screen. We press on first steps, we give it a name, let's just say n8n course. We need to give an email, just use your normal email, and we go on. It should be extern, and we go on. And here we also need to give our email address, and we go on. And we need to accept this, and we go on. Now we can press on OAuth client, type, web application, name, web client 1 is okay for me. We do not need this thing right here, but what's important is this, authorized udirect URL, if we call it in English. We press on this thing right here, we go in n8n, and you see OAuth redirect URL, and we copy these, we go back into Google, we throw it in here, we scroll down, and we press create. This thing is right now created, and now we have everything that we need. If we press here on this button, you see that we have the client ID and the client key. So first we simply copy this client ID, we go back into n8n, client ID, we go back into Google, we copy our client secret key, we go back into n8n, we throw in the secret key, and before we can sign in with Google, we need to give our mail also here. So we go back into Google, we go on test group, we can use test users, we simply throw in our mail and we save it. So save, and right now it should be perfect. So basically we can use this thing right now. If we go back into n8n, now we press sign in with Google, we press on our name, we go on, we use all, we go on once again, and now we are connected successfully. We can close this down, we can also close this down right now, and now we are connected and we save this, of course. So right now we, as the user, we have here access to our Google Sheets. And in order to test this out, we simply press resources, documents is okay, operation is create, and now we can create sheets from here. In order to do this, I just want to type in here, for example, let's just say this is a test step. Node executed successfully, and if I go into my Google Sheets, I should have, in theory at least, this thing right here that has also a typo. Come on! So in Google Sheets, you see, this is a test, yeah. And of course it's empty if I open it up, because I have just the event to create new sheets right now. This is basically just how you can connect new Google Sheets. This was simply a test. This is how you can connect Google Sheets the easiest and the fastest way if you want to work locally. The biggest thing is here that you know how to work with this Google Cloud Console. Yes, this is a little bit tricky. Yes, there are some clicks that you have to make, but as soon as you have done this a few times, this will be no problem for you. And like I said, if you work on the hosted version, you have not to do this. If you use a new workflow here, let's just say you press plus, you use Google Sheets, maybe also as the trigger, Google Sheets, on a row edit for example, you can simply connect to your new Google account and then every single thing will work completely automatically. Create new credential, sign in with Google, you simply press on this button and then you are ready to rock. So one press with this button, you use your Google account, you give access, and then you are connected. So basically, do whatever you want. This thing is a lot faster, this thing is a lot easier, and if you want to do it locally, like you have to do it that way. This was just how you can connect Google Sheets with your local instance. Yes, you have to do this via this Google Cloud Console. Yes, you have to do a lot of clicks, but I promise you as soon as you have done this a few times, this will get easier over time. And if you do this over the cloud, you just have to do 2 clicks and then you are completely set up, you are ready to rock. This was just an example how we can connect these things. Later we will make workflows where we integrate a lot of cool stuff, we will integrate AI. These are just the basics you need to understand this basics. So the Google Cloud Console is something that you need if you want to test this stuff locally. Have fun trying these things out. In this section you have learned the basics. We started with the installation. Simply download Node.js, also download NVM for Windows if you like, if you want to update your Node versions. Type in the right lines and you are ready to rock. If you want to update, of course you know how to do this. And if you want to start in the cloud for free, you also know how to do this. I hope that you have also created your first automation. We started easy. Our on form submission and we can save it in Airtable. We simply pass some data through. We don't need any AI for these. You have learned how you can export and import these files as a JSON format, and you can basically use my workflows. You can play with them a little bit, but it's of course better to make your own workflows so that you can learn it. And as soon as you are a pro, you can also sell them. The next workflow was just to learn how to pass data. It's not really a useful workflow, but you know the time trigger node, and you know how to convert your data into, for example, text files and then save them locally. After that, we have connected our Google Sheets. In order to do that, you need the Google Cloud Console. And yes, this is a little bit intimidating, at least at first glance. But as soon as you do this a few times, it's really easier than you think. You just need to do these clicks step by step, so that you can get your client ID and your API key. And you also need to pass the right uDirect URL and give your own email address a few times. And then Google Sheets is connected with n8n. And if you work in the cloud, you can simply click one button and you are ready to go. So basically you have learned a lot, and I want to tell you what learning is. Learning is same circumstances but different behavior. If you did not know how to use this tool until now, if you did not know how to install it, if you did not know how to build your first workflow, right now you know it, and you have only learned if you do it. So please, just try to play with these things a little bit around. This will be important over the next steps, because we will make more complex workflows. But first I want to tell you what good learners do. Of course, they learn together, because more people always know more than few people. And if other people get value out from this course, they will describe the value to you because you have told them, and we have a win-win-win situation. In that manner, thank you, and I see you, of course, in the next section. Because in the next section we start to include LLMs and AI in our automations.